Welcome to Flow with Shreya. I'm Shreya and today I'm bringing you a pose breakdown. We're actually going over a few different postures today. We'll start off with tabletop and then build on that foundation, work on cat and cow, and thread the needle. So if you want to learn some tips and tricks, modifications, variations, and the basics of these postures, come flow with me. Before we begin, I'd like to offer a couple of different props that you could use to enhance this posture or to support you in this posture. One of them being a blanket. It doesn't have to be this type of blanket. It can be anything soft and cushiony to put underneath your knees if your knees feel the pressure when you're in tabletop. Another option is to have a couple of blocks, and you can even use a second blanket underneath your palms if you need that extra cushion there as well. So let's just get right into it. Begin by coming onto your hands and knees. Take a moment just to notice where your hands and knees naturally land. And then we'll begin to stack our joints to provide stability and strength. So knees directly underneath your hips, and then wrists, elbows, shoulder, all in one line. So take a moment, take a look at your palms, your wrists, take a look at your knees and hips, and sometimes it helps to do this in front of a mirror or even record yourself doing it and watch it back to notice where you're aligned visually and how your body feels when you're aligned that way. You can begin here by just rocking forward and back or side to side just to add in some movement into your tabletop. And then as you come back to center, now we'll work on the spine. Often, we tend to dump into our shoulders or drop our bellies really low, and this can cause tension in any of our joints from the wrists, elbows, shoulders, and even neck tension. So in this position, you really want those joints to be stacked, and then you want to avoid scrunching your shoulders up to your ears. Rather, pull your shoulder blades down and back. Hug your belly button up and in, and strengthen and lengthen your spine. You want to have as straight of a spine as possible here. Now the tendency with the neck and head is to crane it back and look forward. However, to extend the spine into the neck, to extend the cervical spine and align it with the rest of the spine, you really want to be looking in between your thumbs or just slightly ahead of your fingertips. And by doing this, you're pulling the back of the head up and you're sending the crown of your head towards the front of the room. And really feel that energetically. Lengthen the crown of your head towards the front of the room and your tailbone towards the back of the room. Engaging your core here. Notice how long and strong and straight and aligned your spine is in this space. Take a few breaths here. Another tendency is to let the elbows flare out here. Again, this goes back to stacking the joints. And here you can attempt to turn the inner parts of your elbows towards the top of your mat. Now, this will just depend on your range of motion and your flexibility, how far you can go. So use all of these pointers as a starting place, as your guide, and then notice what you feel in your body. If at any point you feel like you need to back off or shift in any way, go ahead and make those adjustments. Another option here is to let your toes go out long or to tuck your toes under. What tucking your toes under does, it helps you with balance and stability in this posture. But whatever feels comfortable to you, you can do. A few more breaths here. And as you exhale, sink your hips back towards your heels, coming into a seat. Notice how that tabletop felt. Often when we go into a tabletop, we rush through it in a practice. So practicing it on its own like this and noticing your own alignment and what your body feels like can help you when you are practicing it in flow. Now, as I mentioned, when you're on your hands and knees, if you feel a lot of pressure in your wrists and your knees, there are a few things you can do about that. You can use a blanket underneath your palms or your knees, and typically your knees is where you need this the most. So go ahead and you can fold it up as much as you need for a cushion. You can use any type of blanket. Place your knees on the blanket. And then place your palms either on your mat, on a blanket, or you can even bring them onto blocks here. Again, notice what you feel in your body. And even if your arms are elevated here, you can still have that straight length in your spine. Always remembering to engage your core, support the spine in that way. Now another option here, if you have any issues with your wrists, is just to come onto your forearms. This time our shoulders are lower than our hips, but you can, again, still have a straight line here. And you really want those elbows and shoulders aligned. You still want the knees and hips aligned. You still want the core engaged. And you still want to avoid dumping into the shoulders. You want to lift and strengthen your back. You want to pull in your core. And you want to align that cervical spine with the rest of your spine. Toes can be tucked under, or you can straighten them out. Another option for your wrists is to make fists and place your fists on your mat. So this will help keep your wrists in a neutral position. But all the same principles apply. Try to turn your inner elbows towards the front of the mat as much as you can. Try to keep all of your joints stacked and keep your spine nice and straight and neutral. And keep your core engaged. Now these are a few different variations you can take in tabletop to modify and support you in what you need. Now that we've gone over the basics of tabletop, let's move on to a couple of postures that you can take from that tabletop. We'll start with one of the most common sequence of postures taken from tabletop, which is cat and cow. So coming into your tabletop, again, align yourself first. Toes can be tucked under or out long. Go ahead and as you inhale, lift your head and heart and drop your belly low. You're making an arch in your back here. You're arching your spine and taking it into extension. Looking forward. Deep inhale. And as you exhale, tuck your tailbone under. Hug your belly button up and in. And look in between your thighs. Round your shoulders and upper back. You can even come onto your fingertips here if you'd like. This is your cat pose. Remind you of a cat. As you inhale, lift your heart high once more, opening up the heart for your cow pose. Follow your own breath and take this for 5 rounds. Exhale into your cat pose. Inhale into your cow pose. Exhale. Inhale. Notice how your spine feels as you move through this range of motion. One more round. Deep inhale, and as you exhale, return to neutral spine. Exhale your hips back and come into a seat. And there you have it, your cat and cow. It seems simple, but it's one of those movements that can really benefit your body. The next posture we'll move into from tabletop is thread the needle. This is an amazing stretch for your shoulder and even your upper neck and back. It's also a gentle twist. So coming back into the tabletop as our starting position, take your time adjusting and shifting. Inhale your right arm up towards the ceiling, opening up your heart. Exhale as you send the right fingertips underneath your left armpit, Lower your right shoulder and cheek down towards your mat. And here's a place where you can use your blanket again if you can't quite reach, or even a block. And this is a place where we tend to misalign our hips. So notice when you're in this space, if one hip wants to dip lower than the other, encourage them to come into line. And this is where tucking the toes under really provides a stable place to twist from. So as you come down, you can leave your left arm where it is, or you can extend it out forward, or you can even take it behind your back to deepen the twist a little bit. Notice how you feel. Make any shifts and adjustments you need to. As you inhale, press into your left palm, lift the right arm up. Exhale the right palm down. We'll take that on the opposite side. Inhale the left arm up. Exhale, thread it underneath your right as you reach your left fingertips towards the opposite side. And then again, take whatever variation works with the right arm. And just breathe here. Exhale, press into the right palm. Inhale the left arm up. Exhale, come back to your tabletop. Exhale, sink your hips back and come into a seat. So there you have it, thread the needle. And it's one of those postures that seems very simple, but it can be practiced on its own or within a flow to really help stretch out the shoulders in the back. A few more things you can do from your tabletop is wrist stretches, hip circles, and just movement in your body. So I'll show you what that looks like. As you come into tabletop, you can shift your hips side to side or forward and back, or even take them in circles. And here you'll move your entire upper body. And then take those circles on the opposite side. Come back to center. For your wrist stretches, you can flip your palms over. You can turn your fingertips in different directions. And then just find movement or stillness depending on how much of a stretch you want. And if you want to practice those wrist stretches and want more details on them, I'll link a video in the cards and in the description where you can do so. The great thing about tabletop is that the strength you build, the alignment you feel in that posture is the foundation to feel strong and have that alignment in postures like plank pose. It's also a place where you can begin to transition into your downward facing dog. It's also a great place to work on your core and your diaphragmatic breathing. And tabletop is a great variation or modification to take in place of your plank pose or downward facing dog within your flow. So I hope these tips help you the next time you're practicing tabletop, cat and cow, or thread the needle. I hope you learned something from that video, and if you did, it would mean a lot to me if you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. It always helps my channel grow and more yogis learn about these postures if you share this video on your social media or with your friends. If you do share it on social media, be sure to tag me at Flow with Shreya. As always, everything I'm wearing, the mat I was practicing on, and any props we've used will be linked in the description bar below in case you're interested. If you want to practice these postures in a flow, be sure to check out this video down here. And for more vinyasa flows, check out this playlist right here. Thank you so much for joining me. Namaste.